Yay, you've made it to the end of the semester. You have worked hard all semester long, looking at a wide variety of educational technology tools and reflecting on how we can put learning first, technology second, and using the 3E framework in order to frame that. How do we engage students with technology? How do we use technology to enhance our content? And how do we use technology to expand the learning opportunities that our students get to engage in? So as a celebration, I'd like to share with you an inspirational story that I've loved for many years. It comes from a book called Not Quite Burned Out, but Crispy Around the Edges. And it's a book of inspiration, laughter, and encouragement specifically for teachers. It is written by Sharon M. Draper, and I have scanned and uploaded a copy of this into our last activity in Schoology. And copyright laws give me the right to, and fair use clauses to copy a portion of the book and share it with you for educational purposes. So what I'd like you to do right now, I'm not going to read the whole story, but I'm going to read the major parts of it. And you can come back to the handout that's attached in Schoology for the details. But you just get to sit back, relax, and celebrate a semester well done. This story is called Finding Your Joy, and it's about the little things and the bigger picture. So to start, it says, does anyone have any questions? I asked the class of 6th graders in middle school. They asked the usual questions. How old are you? How long does it take to write a book? What authors do you like to read? Can you put me in your next book? I love the gentle sparring that takes place when they toss questions at me and I toss them back with a witty but honest response. Then one little girl in the back of the room raised her hand. She was skinny with hair that looked like the straw in a broom. Where do you find your joy? She asked. Stunned, I said, nothing for a moment. Surely this was a question that her teachers had given her to ask. But the teachers standing near her looked as odd and dumbstruck as I. It was as if they had never seen her before. She waited quietly, and the other students shifted nervously in their seats. What exactly do you mean? I asked, stalling for times. Just what I said, she said quietly. I want to know, where do you find your joy? The question, oddly worded and showing a depth of understanding of life far beyond her 11 or 12 years, made me somewhat uncomfortable. Finally, I looked right at her and said, that's a powerful question you're asking, and one that can't be answered quickly or easily. I think philosophers have been trying to figure that one out for centuries. But for me, I think I find my joy in the fact that I am blessed enough to live my dreams. I get to write, travel, and talk to students and teachers, and that is what makes me happy. That is what gives me joy. I thanked her for asking such a thought-provoking question, then challenged her classmates and teachers to think about the answer to her question for themselves. But even after the students had returned to their classes, the question hung in the air like smoke. Where do you find your joy? What is joy? I often ask that question now when I travel to schools and conferences. The answers are often not what you might be expected. And so there's a bunch of different students and teachers that give you what gives them joy. And what I'd like you to do is think about what brings you joy. I will read just this one from a college student who is an education major, because it's right where you are right now, that says, "My greatest joy will come when I can finally stand in my own classroom in front of a room full of kids. That will also be my day of greatest fear." I think that's pretty real. So take time if you want and read through those on your own. And I'll continue with the rest of the story. The power and the joy of helping kids make a connection is always there, right around the corner, just down the hall, just at the end of the week or the month or the school year. Rarely do we open our hands and find it sitting right there, waiting to be acknowledged and enjoyed. Marvella teaches in a high school in Brooklyn. The building is old and deteriorating, and the students come from homes with more problems than can be imagined. But they grin and say, "You," when they see her in the halls or on the subway, and they sit up and pay attention when she walks into her classroom. She offers them hope, and they give her inspiration. When I asked her where she finds her joy, she told me, "I know I can't reach all of them, all of the students, but every one I reach is a victory, because maybe that one would not have made it without me, and that's what brings me joy." Ricardo teaches in a middle school in Los Angeles. 15 different languages are spoken by the student body. I think he would benefit from the Talking Points app that we've talked about this semester. English is the language least spoken or understood. Ricardo tutors his students before and after school and during his lunch period. They come to him with their problems, their worries, and their dreams. They leave him proud as well as prepared. When I asked him where he finds his joy, he told me, "Joy is going home in the evening. I sleep well because I get to do what I love. Other people may make more money, but no one gets more satisfaction than I do. I'd rather work with kids than make $1 million doing a job that has no meaning in my life. I get joy every day, and I feel sorry for people who don't." Frank teaches in a suburban high school in Chicago. His students come from wealthy parents who have given their children the best of everything since childhood. They have money and cars, the latest computer and video equipment, and all the brand name clothes. But they share the same adolescent insecurities of young people all over the country, and the same fears about their futures, about who they are as human beings on this earth. Frank listens and guides them. He shares his passion for the world community with them. He takes them to volunteer in the city, and he teaches them humility. When I asked Frank where he finds his joy, he told me, "Every year my students give a holiday party for the kids in the homeless shelter downtown. They share not just the physical gifts, but their spirits and their souls with others who are less fortunate. The joy that I get is not from seeing the looks on the faces of those who receive the gifts, but the looks on the faces of my students who have learned to give of themselves. They learn that the world is very small and that we all live in it together. If they have learned to be a better human being because of me, then I have done my job." Now, teaching is often malaligned and denigrated by the media and the general public for being a thankless job that offers no rewards. If it had no rewards, we wouldn't do it. But often we need to be reminded of the small pleasures and the simple joys of working with young people to overshadow the negativity that we see portrayed by our profession. So this list is a list of different ways that we get joy from working with these young people. And I'm going to scroll down and just read to you the 12th grade graduation. A 12th grade graduation is still wrinkled, fresh out of the wrapper caps and gowns that rustle in the evening air, and pomp and circumstances played by the school orchestra, and proud smiling faces walk exultantly to the stage, forgetting their kindergarten fears as well as their adolescent inadequacies and their high school difficulties. They don't recognize the teachers who walked them down that aisle for the past 13 years. They only see success and a bright future, and so they should. Our joy comes in knowing that because of us teachers, students walk proudly down that aisle. Because of us as educators, students are prepared to face whatever comes for them. Sometimes it's hard to see the big picture and how we figure in the vastness of educational goals and curriculum concepts. How can one teacher working in one small school, in one district, in one state, ever claim to make a difference in the millions of students that march toward us each September and leave us, sometimes having marched over us the following June? How do we know if it matters? And I'm reminded of a story of a place where no one could see the big picture until a child showed it to them. I'm going to stop the video here and let you think about just what impact you can have on that one student as an educator. And I'll continue in the next video with this parable about a village far away.